Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Game Changer. I'm Mariam Zia. Higher than the mountains, deeper than the oceans, and sweeter than honey. In today's program, we will be talking about the bilateral relationship between Pakistan and China. When we talk about Pakistan and China relations, the diplomatic relations were established 70 years ago. China has always assisted Pakistan on different fronts, and in today's program, we will be exploring Pakistan-China relations. When we talk about Pakistan-China relations, China is assisting Pakistan in the ongoing economic crisis as well, and China is providing a financial assistance of $1.3 billion to Pakistan, and it will be disbursed in 3 installments, and the first installment of $500 million has already been received by State Bank of Pakistan. In today's program, we will be discussing the impact of this assistance on the economy of Pakistan and on that Pak-China relations in the broader sense. And we will be also talking about China-Pakistan economic corridor that has been a game changer not only for Pak-China relations but for the region at large. To discuss this and more, I am joined in the studios by Mr. Shehryar Khan, who is analyst and IR expert. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
With him, I am joined by Director, Center for Aerospace and Security Studies, Dr. Zia Shamsi. Welcome to the program. And I'm joined online by Dr. Hassan Javed, economist and senior analyst. Welcome to the program. And with him, I'm joined by Dr. Fazlur Rahman, who is Director, Pakistan Institute of China Studies, Gwadar University. Welcome to the program. So let me start with you, Mr. Shehryar. When we talk about Pakistan-China relations, how do you see this recent assistance provided by China to Pakistan and its impact on the economic relations between Pakistan and China?
Mariam, first of all, thank you for inviting me. So China has historically been a very dependable ally of Pakistan and has always supported Pakistan, especially in the times of economic need. And we know that Pakistan is very cash strapped right now. So last year, Pakistan basically got this loan of $1.3 billion from China.
When in November,
Exactly.
Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif visited China. Right?
So this was financed by the Industrial and Commercial Bank of China. And last month, Pakistan had basically repaid this loan back to China. So the new development is that China has renewed this loan facility of $1.3 billion, and this is over and beyond the $700 million that had already been committed by China and that Pakistan has already received. So overall, this amount is amounting to over $2 billion.
So this would be released in 3 phases, Dr. Zia Shamsi, as per our understanding. So what is the timeline of these, installments? Like, of course, State Bank of Pakistan has already received the first installment of $500 million.
Actually, thank you again for inviting us over. In fact, Pakistan is going through a very difficult time at this time, especially because of the repayments and international obligations. And it's being a very hard road. But Pakistan, alhamdulillah, is meeting the deadlines so far. And that is why these 1.3 billion committed at this time and received already 500 is very, very important, because by the time we hit this end of this financial year, we need something like $16 billion. And that is why it is important that the tranche keep coming on time so that we do not fail to meet our international obligations.
Of course, of course. So, Dr. Hassan, when we talk about this loan, what are the major terms and conditions of these loan, and what is the interest rate and repayment period? And also, I want to talk about the timeline of these installments.
See, very first time, I was expecting this, that Pakistan and China friendship is called the Iron Friendship, which is called the Pathian in China, Chinese language. So Pathian. So Pathian means Iron Friendship. So here comes 500 million dispersion in a very, quick way that, we can see, like, for example, the 1.3 billion assistance has been offered to help sustain, rapidly decrease the forex reserve in the term of crisis. When in terms of crisis, that means they are not following any timeline. They are giving you on the basis of, need. And when there is a need, they are dispersing the money at earliest. So already they have sent the 5 million USD initiative to the government, and the rest of the fund would be delivered in 10 days later. I'm giving you the timeline exactly. So 10 days later, the whole amount will be, dispersed. Then is the number one reason is overall economic situation in a lot of the GI countries in now. A lot of deals were done back when everybody was still in a kumbaya, I would say kumbaya mode. And
Right, there
unfortunately,
is
let's
some
look at
audio issue. Will be
so,
coming back to you, Dr. Hasnan. Dr. Fazil, when we talk about this financial assistance to Pakistan, how do you think this is going to impact the economic relations between Pakistan and China, and also its impact on the foreign exchange reserves of Pakistan?
Well, Pakistan-China relations, economic relations are evolving relation, and it's been developing since the introduction of CPEC between the two countries. We see that this loan, especially which has been given at a point when we were negotiating with the IMF, I think is going to contribute a lot in terms of enhancing Pakistan's credibility in front of IMF and in front of other creditors, global creditors. So perhaps this is going to be one of the major step towards taking some more loans from other financial institutions. As far as the contribution towards the Pakistan's economic health is concerned, I think this is something which we have to really see how our economic reforms, economic policies are panning out in coming days and coming months. Because I think there is a need for a major reform, which has also been demanded by IMF. That Pakistan needs structural reforms so that the assistance which is being put into Pakistan can be put to effective use and can really contribute towards sustainability.
Right, Dr. Fazil, has how this financial assistance will be impacting the dynamics of Pak-China relations?
Well, certainly Pakistan, China, this is not the first time that China has done this
Of
for
course, of
Pakistan.
course.
I think this rollover has been going on for several years now.
China has been
And
providing us
China
with
has been
interest-free loans, yes, grants.
And yeah, and China has always been forthcoming whenever Pakistan was in such a situation, difficult situation. And this is a two-way traffic. You know, Chinese have a very strong sense of history. They remember when Pakistan really helped them in the 1960s when they needed help. So it's a Chinese tradition of remembering their friends, and they will not leave home Pakistan. They will always come to the help of Pakistan whenever it is required and whenever it is needed.
Mr. Shayyar, when we talk about this financial assistance, how this financial assistance will be impacting the regional balance of power if we talk about the South Asian region?
So Mariam, currently right now, if we do an analysis of Pakistan's foreign reserves, right now with the State Bank, they're like around $3.8 billion. And if we combine that with the sums that the commercial banks are holding, so that comes to around about $9.6 billion. As soon as IMF's loan agreement is signed, and which should be done in the next like 5 to 10 days, so Pakistan is set to receive another $1 billion from the IMF. And as soon as that loan facility is unlocked, then a lot of like other friendly countries will join in to support Pakistan in its structural reforms as well as economic support. And as Dr. Saab very rightly mentioned, that by the year closing of June, Pakistan needs to shore up the reserves up to $16 billion, and they have to keep it at that level for the next 2 or 3 years to basically graduate successfully from the IMF program.
Of course.
So that this whole financial assistance is very imperative for the economic stability of Pakistan.
Of course, that is imperative. But Dr. Zahir Shamsi, I want to ask about the dependence of Pakistan on China in the context of this ongoing and continuous financial assistance. How do you view it?
That is what is more important. I mean, because this dependence is not good for Pakistan. We have to have independence, economic independence. For that, we must make an all-out effort at this time. There is a difference between assistance and investment. I would have been more happy sitting here if we were talking about Chinese investment or the investment by brotherly countries or friendly countries instead of seeking assistance again and again. because every 2, 3, 4 months we are running around to fill that gap that occurs because of the balance of payment. Okay, so this assistance is welcome because we need it at this time.
That is
we need it this
of course
time.
significant for Pakistan. So
Yeah.
let's talk about the areas in which China has invested in Pakistan. What are the major projects in which China has already made investments, and what is the progress on those?
I think communication, the road infrastructure all the way from Gwadar till Kashgar, and the rail ML1 that is in the process, and the work should start soon, inshallah, as soon as the contract is concluded. And energy sector, there is huge investment of China, out of $46 billion of the total CPEC outlay. There is majority of the portion goes to the energy sector. And defense sector, we are using Chinese equipment for a very long time. We have mastered Chinese equipment. We are co-producing Chinese equipment for machines with China, in Pakistan, in China. So this cooperation is very deeply entrenched.
Of course.
The only area where I would further want to is the people to people contact. That is politically and socially, if we integrate with China, I think that in the long term will be far more beneficial than this economic assistance of 1 billion or 2 billion.
Of course. Mr. Shayyar, I want to talk about, we will be talking later about the people to people contacts, but let's talk about the economic relations between Pakistan and China, especially in the context of Belt Road Initiative. How do you see it?
So Mariam, for me, within the Belt Road Initiative, and when we focus especially on CPEC, I personally see the Gwadar port as one of the key cornerstones of the CPEC project overall. That is one project which will basically develop Pakistan and the region's interdependability on Pakistan.
Of course.
And economic linkages between Central Asia.
And that is very significant for the economic prosperity of Pakistan.
Very significant. Other than that, air links are being developed. Right now, China is building a state-of-the-art airport over there as well. One very important aspect that we don't talk about much is a very significant technical and vocational training institute that China has already built in Gwadar, and that is where the local population of Gwadar will be taken on board, and they will basically be trained on technical and vocational skills, and they will be playing a very key role in getting jobs and economic ownership of the Gwadar area. I personally believe whenever there are large infrastructure or development projects taking place, the local population needs to develop a stake in that development process.
That is very important.
And that is one of the key cornerstones and something that I really look forward to in the Gwadar port.
Dr. Fazil, when we talk about the investments of China in different projects of Pakistan and especially CPEC, what sectors have received the most investments?
It's the energy sector. Actually, Pakistan was in dire need of developing energy, and we were running, sort of short of energy. So, the first thing the Chinese, put on priority under CPEC was the energy sector, and we have received, I think, the largest
project was
in
completed.
terms of investment from Chinese side in CPEC in the energy sector. So, we have been able to overcome this shortfall. And I think now this energy which is being developed is going to be impacting our industrial output because our industry was suffering a lot.
Right. So, Dr. Fazil, what is the long-term strategic vision for China-Pakistan economic corridor?
I think the long-term vision revolves around many factors, but I think now the future of Pakistan-China economic corridor largely relies upon the development of special economic zones and cooperation in the agriculture sector. Because of the climate change, there are going to be some negative impact on our agriculture sector, and we need to produce more and more in terms of gaining our food security. And the other thing is that Pakistan has to develop industrially so that we can produce more and export in order to address our balance of goods. Unless until we are unable to do that, perhaps sustainable economic growth will not be possible for us.
Right. Dr. Hasnan, when we talk about these different projects that China has invested in, let's talk about the transport sector, because we keep on talking about the regional connectivity. That is significant aspect of this connectivity. So what projects have already been completed with regards to CPEC?
Before that, I just wanted to say, extend my humble extension to this question that Pakistan is out of crisis. Like $30 billion is to run the country, and 30 billion is the more than 30 billion is the debt and the circular debt, and everything is on the road. So where we need assistance, China is the first one to assist on this way. So this is not the happy moment. We can not develop anything, and we are not developing anything. So this is what the China's part. Now, according to the number available publicly, the China-Pakistan Economic Tour CPEC, but we call it CPEC, has already brought 46 billion worth of the capital Pakistan, including concessionary loans and commercial debt and investment with the state guarantees. China and Pakistan have already a fully functional FTA phase 1 in place in 2007, which was revised in 2020.
Right,
So
right. Dr. Hassan, there is an audio issue. Mr. Shayar, when we talk about these, transport linkages, how this has impacted and improved the trade relations between the two countries?
So once I think like the whole process of like initiating the ML1 railway line, it took some time.
Let's talk about ML1. What areas this is going to connect?
So this basically connects.
And how this has improved the infrastructure of these regions?
So this basically connects Peshawar to Karachi, and this will basically give us a transport facility and basically take the goods from the Karachi port up till Peshawar. There are like a lot of special economic zones. Russia economic zone is already given to like China on a lease. So China is rapidly developing the special economic zone over there. Other than that, that economic zone basically connects Pakistan through Peshawar to Afghanistan, and then through Afghanistan to Central Asian republics. So that's like this like road linkages and infrastructure would be very crucial in developing linkages between Pakistan and Central Asia. And it will also give access to Central Asia, and we know that all of these Central Asian states are landlocked, including Afghanistan. So this is a very golden opportunity, and this road and like the train infrastructure will give access and ownership to the Central Asian republics to transfer their goods and services through Afghanistan by using the ML1 railway lines to Karachi and then access to the port. And this is also being connected to the Gwadar port as well.
Of course, of course.
And obviously the airport and the air linkages, once they're established, then it will be like, sail through.
Right. Dr. Shamsi, when we talk about these transport linkages, what are some of the key challenges and as well as opportunities associated with these transport linkages in specific?
Yeah, first talk about the opportunities. Some time back I had written a piece on Pakistan's strategic locations, the relevance for the region, and I named it as Misaka. Misaka means Middle East, South Asia, Central Asia. That the goods starting from or the energy flow or whatever you want to get from Middle East through Gwadar port, through South Asia, all the way goes into Central Asia via Afghanistan. ML1 will play a key role in that, and from there Central Asia will connect with Russia, and South Asia through Gwadar and Kashgar connects to China. So that is about 40% of world's population within this region of Misaka. So the day it gets activated, it will have huge opportunity for Pakistan, and Pakistan plays a key role because of its strategic location within this area. Okay, it will be the bridge between Middle East, South Asia and Central Asia.
Of course. So, Dr. Hasnan, when we talk about these linkages being established, how other countries in the region would be impacted by these linkages that Dr. Shamsi is mentioning?
He has given the very right terminology to, or you can say the reasonable variables to this talk is a Misaka. So yes, it is the Gwadar linked to the Turkey, Gwadar linked to the Middle East, Gwadar linked to the Central Asian state, Gwadar linked to all the necessary areas, Gwadar linked to Afghanistan, and Afghanistan is nothing without us. So they must need to understand that they have to develop a good relationship with us. Otherwise, if they will only survive on the grants of the or the fund and the territorial funds from India, then they cannot develop the situation. So we are in that way we are into CPEC, and CPEC can develop to the Qatar and GCC's countries. And now there is another thing is OPEC and OPEC plus. Of course, we have to deal along with this phase. But and second is the coal power projects. So we have the third power coal projects, and 57% of the whole CPEC is completed, and that is all by China, even from the petrol to everything that is being contributed by China, their director general, their everything. And now it is time for us, for the Pakistan, to develop the 9 economic zone. But I just want to develop that the cover countries and region with the total population of 4.4 billion. So need to understand that the vision with the world changing implication unfolding plan that would wave much Asia, Europe, Africa, Oceania, and the Middle East much more closely together through the patch of the diplomacy, new infrastructure, and free trade. And free trade is very much important. I just wanted to hold, not to hold on that, just to understand the One Belt, One Road initiative. The project consists of the three routes: southern, center, and north. Southern, central, and north route. So the southern corridor began with the Guangzhou, which is the largest city. I was in Guangzhou at that time. I have spent 5 years there in the China. So where the Guangzhou, which is the third largest city of the China in the South China, and then is a point where the China was linked to the Gwadar port in the Arabian Sea, and it is the shortest and the most feasible option for China. One. The second Chinese option is a central corridor that starts from the Shanghai and lead to the country to the Tashkent, which is very much important. And then is a Tehran and the onward to the Bandar Imam Khomeini port of the Iran to the Persian Gulf. So it is significant position where, and remember always the 70-kilometer away is Chabahar. So this is a long route, but it could be an option if the Pakistan does not deliver on the time, competing in the road and net to the become the beneficiary of the new Silk Road and economic belt. The third Chinese option is northern corridor that starts from Beijing. And Beijing, just by residing 2 years in Beijing, I have understand the passes to the Russia and link it to the European sites. And the planning minister of those two countries held a marathon session on the development of the project. So I just wanted to tell you that they are, in previous relationship with the Russia and the whole of the African side. 420 plus $billion they have invested in Africa.
Of course, there is a lot of potential. So, Dr. Fazlur Rahman, I want to come to you. That what is the potential for job creation and economic development after the development of these, infrastructures that Dr. Stan has mentioned?
Well, there's a huge potential for job creation, and very recently there has been educational conference in China in which our embassy participated, where the industrial academia link was discussed. And basically that was the conference of vocational training institutions and universities of China. They would like to train Pakistani human resource in order to be absorbed into the future projects, economic projects, especially in the special economic zone. And it is anticipated that once these economic zones are functional, there is going to be like more than 300,000, jobs which will be instantly available. And definitely with the growth of industry, job opportunity will also increase. But I think that we need to focus on the rapid growth and rapid development of these special economic zones, because so far the speed of development of special economic zones is not really very satisfactory.
What needs to be done? What needs to be done? What
I think there are
the main bottlenecks if we talk about these special economic zones?
There are some bureaucratic hurdles. Then there is some kind of incentivization for the investment, and we have not been having a very proactive approach towards bringing in the investors. I think we need to engage them very proactively and try to give them incentives which they require, reduce the red tapeism procedures for investors. So I give them, sort of a lot of facilities which they require for any from any special economic zone. So I think once this infrastructure is in place, perhaps there will be, more attraction for investors.
Right. Thank you very much, Dr. Fazlur Rahman, for joining us in today's program. Thank you very much, Dr. Zia Shamsi, for joining in today's program. We will take a short break here, and when we come back, we will be discussing more about the impacts of China-Pakistan economic corridor on Pak-China relations and the current assistance provided by China to Pakistan. Take a break. Welcome back. We are talking about bilateral relations between Pakistan and China, and to discuss more about this, I'm joined in the studios by Mr. Humayun Khan, who is senior analyst and IR expert. Welcome to the program. So, Mr. Humayun, when we talk about these Pakistan-China relations, we've already discussed the financial assistance provided by China to Pakistan. Let's talk about the trade relations between Pakistan and China. What are major MOUs signed between the two countries and its impact on the key sectors?
Thank you, Mariam. Yes, trade is one of the issues between the two countries which was neglected in the past. And when we signed the China-Pakistan economic corridor, that was one of the reasons that we wanted to enhance our economic-to-economic relationship. And even before, when we signed CPEC, we signed a free trade agreement with each other. In 2006, the first phase was started, and then in 2019, the second phase of China free trade agreement was signed between the two countries. And the purpose was to strengthen the economic relationship, to increase the export of the Pakistani goods to the Chinese side, and also to increase the import of the Chinese side to the Pakistani side. What we have seen in the past so far, that whoever has economic relationship or trade relationship with China, there's always a balance tilt towards the Chinese side. So this free trade agreement was meant to increase Pakistani trade, increase Pakistani production capacity, and enhance Pakistani revenue resources from the Chinese side. So now we have signed the second phase of China-Pakistan free trade agreement, which will be concluded in 2024. There's a list of 300 plus items in which China will reduce the concession from the Pakistani side.
And what are some of the key sectors when we talk about these 300 sectors?
We have textile, we have frozen meat, we have animal product, we have seafood, we have chemical, plastic, oilseed, footwear, engineering products. There's 300 plus list where Pakistan can increase its export to the Chinese side. And this is one of the reasons we have been lacking in terms of our economic development, that we import more and we export less. So phase 2 of China-Pakistan economic corridor also is for the same particular purpose, that we have Chinese industries in Pakistan, we have Pakistani industries in joint collaboration with Chinese, not only Chinese by the way, we have Saudis, we have other international companies. They are more than welcome to join in the special economic zone that we are setting up in the second phase of CPEC. And with that, the idea is to bring industrialization in Pakistan. And with that, our aim is to increase Pakistani export to the outside world. And this is something which is going to not only help Pakistan, but also increase the trade relationship between the two countries, which has huge potential.
It has huge potential, but when we talk about these, free trade agreements between the two countries, what are some of the key challenges that the two countries are facing? Because you already mentioned that the trade volume has been low.
Well, not necessarily that there was certain challenges. For that reason that the trade volume was low, it was the Pakistani capacity was less in terms of producing.
Was also
connectivity was also an issue. The capacity of the Pakistani industry, it was also the reason why we started the first phase of China-Pakistan economic corridor, because the energy needs were increasing massively. We are 220 million people. Our installed capacity now, thanks to the China-Pakistan economic corridor first phase, we have installed 10,000 plus megawatt of electricity. But when we started this particular particular project, we were losing 2 to 3% of our GDP because of the lack of electricity, which was back then the case in Pakistan in 2013. So this was one particular obstacle, that you had less energy, you had less skilled labor, you had less expertise from the outside world. Our value chain addition was almost non-existent. So Chinese model of governance, Chinese model of production was something which we wanted to replicate in Pakistan, and Chinese helped us build the first phase, where now, alhamdulillah, our energy demands are met for 2030. Although there are certain issues, there's shortage of petroleum product that we have to bring from outside, but nonetheless the installed capacity has been increased thanks to CPEC. Because of this particular thing, now Pakistan is in a position to have a new phase of industrialization, which was we were lacking. With that, we are 220 million plus people. We need to job creation.
Of course. So, Mr. Shahyar, when we talk about how these businesses and industries would be impacted by the trade relations, by the enhanced trade relations between the two countries.
So, Mariam, one area where I want to add on to what Humayun Saab just basically said is that sometimes there are some complaints from various Chinese company on basically the dollar yuan parity. And that is one of the reasons why Pakistan and China have now signed a currency swap agreement.
Yes,
which
very
is very
important. Yes.
So the framework for that has been
decided. And this would reduce
decided.
Pakistan's dependency on US dollar as well.
Exactly. So a lot of economists basically say that every transaction of over 10 million rupees, Pakistan would be saving 0.5 million rupees if we basically convert our trade relations and our transactions from RMB and rupee.
Which is significant.
Which
for
is very
keeping
significant. So that is already underway, and I think by this year the currency swap agreements would be fully functional, and that would also boost Pakistan's economy and reduce the dependence on the dollar.
So Dr. Hasnain, what is the potential for Pakistani businesses to enter in Chinese market?
Yes, Humayun's ideas was very good, but there is a difference in, other countries. We cannot trade in the Eurasian bond or even in the RMBs, because we are under the petrodollar agreement. So this is very much different scheme of work. So we are just not dealing with the Russia. We are not dealing with the other countries. So we are not empowered and aligned and schemed with this left side of the country. So we are into the American side. So as far as now is concerned, is under the CPEC, you have your question was very pertinent. But how many projects? So projects being concerned in the CPEC of the 50 billion.
What is the potential for Pakistani businesses in the Chinese market?
What I'm telling you, that there is no export market. If there is a lot number of less, Humayun has already told you that there is a textile, there is a plastic, there is a 100 things. But you are not developing anything on the basis of the quality assurance scheme. So you are understated. The Chinese market will not buy anything from you people. So please try to understand, and planning division must have to exercise this. 3.5 years back, the planning division, Khusro Bakhtiar, have spoiled the CPEC projects and so many other projects they have spoiled, and much of the investment in the nuclear power and other things they have spoiled. So many power projects, and the 70 plus company was being backed. So let me talk to you about the CPEC of the how many $1 billion scheme of the category under the energy project, which is mainly based on the infrastructure road, infrastructure rail, infrastructure optic fiber. And I'm also telling you, the Khusro Bakhtiar was the one who revisited all the projects, and he was the main person to be pointing out, and I'm criticizing on the channel because he was the one. So now I'm putting on to the optimistic side. 35 billion is allocated for the energy projects, 15 billion is the infrastructure, Gwadar development industrial zone, and the mass transit scheme, and then his entire portfolio is completed in 2030. So in CPEC, second component infrastructure is to be financed through the government to G2G, amounting is 15 billion. And also consider if
so let's talk about, Dr. Hasnain, let's talk about the challenges that Pakistani business face in Chinese market and how to address those challenges.
First of the major problem is concerning currently is that 12,000 plus containers on the port. So all of our businesses are attached to the LCs, and LCs are not open on that matter. So we need to understand and reconciliate this matter first, and then we will talk about the infrastructure, road, and optic fiber. Please keep that in mind. $1.3 billion is an assistant to your the forex reserve, because our foreign reserves is 2.9. So it is not 3.9. So consider it. This point is the LC's problem, banking channel problem. Our banking channel are not equipped with Chinese equipment. There is a Kai-check model. There is a GDP problem. So GDP, we are getting our amount on the GDP, and they are dealing in the Kai-check model. So both of the countries must need to understand why is the CPEC option, one window, one operation, or the CPEC authority is not being is being compromised. Why they are not working on it? Why they are not doing that much exercise that what we did in the on the previously 5 years back down the road. So we were very good when the $62 billion was there. So they now invest, just they were little spoiled, and the amount was being transferred $400 billion to the Chabahar. So this is our cause of the problem. So what now we need to understand, it is the energy is about the direct job opportunities. It's more than that. Is the infrastructure road 31,000 plus. Infrastructure rail is required 14,000 plus. Is the infrastructure optic fiber is needed more than 1 lakh. So Gwadar port is in actual is a 77,700 people is been required, and total order is a 1,96,000. So need to understand the debt servicing payment rose to 9-10 million annually to announce the CPEC loans, assuming 20 years. So China is very good with us. We need to understand that we have no export base. Neither we are exporting rice, neither we are exporting the big just because of lack in licensing, import and export department. And then we need to understand there is a one window operation to be exercised. And a most recent and most important thing is that the three, why not we are working on the coal power projects? If you allow me, and I'll talk on the coal power projects.
Of course.
I can.
Right. So, Mr. Humayun, when we talk about all these challenges, so let's talk about how are Pakistan and China working to diversify their trade relations beyond these, traditional sectors that they were already working in.
No, absolutely right. And I would like to point out there are like certain areas in which Pakistan can export more to China. There's a list of products that I have here, and there is a negotiation between China and Pakistan in the second phase of China-Pakistan economic free trade between the two countries. And there's like a list of 25% of the things on which the tariff would still remains. One of the most important things is Pakistan's export to outside world is textile. We send our textile to Europe, we send our textile to the United States of America. We need to diversify more and send to the China. Then we have iron, electrical equipment, we have agriculture products. China is a huge country, 1.4 billion people. They have a huge demand for food products, including rice, wheat, guava, soybean. Soybean is something which US and China, when they had this disagreement with each other and this trade war was happening, Pakistani market could be a new potential exporter of soybean to China if we develop the second phase of China-Pakistan economic corridor and focus more on hybrid seed, agriculture, technology transfer of the Chinese side to Pakistan. Then you have surgical equipments, then you have footwear, then you have leather, then you have woodwear, then you have fruits. Pakistani fruits are one of the best in the world. So if we could, there is an issue of when we export our food, for example, mangoes or any other thing, the quality assurance needs to be done according to the Chinese standards. So that needs to be done, and that's basically being discussed and undertaken by both the sides. Then you have stones, minerals, semi-precious and precious stones which we can export from Pakistan to the other side. Then there are fruits which I've already mentioned. Then there's another aspect. We wanted to expand the China-Pakistan economic corridor to our western side, which is Afghanistan and Central Asia. So if we could connect this south and north connectivity, there's a huge potential that we could, in the second phase of economic corridor, we have industries here, we could produce things and we could tap into market of South Asia, Central Asia and Iran and Afghanistan as well. So in this case, there's a massive potential of China-Pakistan economic corridor, and not only China-Pakistan economic corridor, one needs to understand this thing, that this is just one aspect of the overall bilateral relationship.
Of course, this is one aspect, and let's talk about the defense cooperation between Pakistan and China. How has this evolved, and what would be the impact, and what is the impact of this defense cooperation between Pakistan and China on the regional security?
So, Mariam, China is not only taking the lead internationally when it comes to economic diplomacy and investing in various different regions. So China is also presenting a new vision for the global security. And last year, China basically came up with the concept of the Global Security Initiative. So this was launched in 2022. So through this initiative, China is presenting a new vision for the international community to basically cater to their traditional and non-traditional security needs. So in that, like, China is basically propagating and advocating for a new era of global security.
Let's talk about some of the major issues of global importance, like climate change.
Climate change is one of the major issues.
Terrorism is one of the important issues. So how this cooperation would be impacting these issues?
So climate change, then there's like security. So these are the main areas that China is focusing on. China is also advocating for moving away from bloc politics. It is also criticizing the Western model of geopolitics. And it's like moving towards more of a model that basically propagates economic cooperation and economic security rather than geopolitical analysis. Other than that, like when we basically talk about attracting foreign direct investment and international companies to come and basically invest in Pakistan, what we have to realize is that whenever a country is economically vulnerable and it's like going through an economic crisis, it's not the best time for any international firm to come and basically invest in those economies. So the international companies are very reluctant. So given in that economic environment, Chinese companies are the only ones currently right now that are negotiating with the Pakistan government and still making investments in Pakistan, even though the economic situation is a bit questionable right now. So what we basically need to do is to basically facilitate the Chinese company and facilitate any investment that Pakistan can get right now, which will bolster its like foreign reserves and foreign direct investment. China as well as Saudi Arabia. These are the two countries that are standing by Pakistan.
Of course. So Mr. Humayun, I want to ask about the diplomatic relations between Pakistan and China, how they have evolved over the years, and what are some of the major milestones achieved so far?
Oh, that's a very interesting question. China and Pakistan developed Pakistan was one of the first Muslim countries to have recognized China.
Of course.
And then Pakistan was somebody who helped China in terms of gaining its rightful position in the United Nations Security Council, United Nations and then United Nations Security Council. And post 1971, Pakistan was the country which helped opening up of China to the West, particularly with the United States of America, and that needs no introduction. Other than that, there is a very strong diplomatic cooperation and collaboration between the two countries on all the issues of mutual understanding, be it Kashmir, be it Palestine, be it Taiwan, be it One China Sea. So both the countries knows each other's limitation and red lines, and we really respect that. One question which you were asking, Shahriyar, there's a very strong defense cooperation between the two countries. The reason why China, as of now, is the largest defense provider of Pakistan.
Defense equipment provided to Pakistan.
China helped us securing the nuclear weapon that Pakistan has, and that's basically the bane of our existence. China helped us in the missile technology. China helped us in aviation. The Pakistani Air Force has one of the best planes, JF-17, which was like built with collaboration of the Chinese. Then Pakistani Navy has frigates, which Chinese helped us. Then we are also in negotiation with buying J-20, the fourth generation Air Force from the Chinese side. So there is a massive, and then Al-Khalid tank, which is our main battle tank. It is collaboration between China and Pakistan. There's a list of things, heavy industries, Texila, HIT, which is like also one of the main sources of our defense production, PUF, PAC, Kamra. So there's always Chinese collaboration happening between Pakistan and China on the defense sector. There's a very strong military to military cooperation in terms of training, exercises, counter-terrorism is one area. We are part of SCO, and China helped us gain the membership of SCO. So this defense cooperation,
so there's a huge list, of course.
Oh, yes.
So Dr. Hasnain, there's a huge list of cooperation between the two countries, but let's talk about some of the challenges and potential areas of disagreement between Pakistan and China.
Most potential area, of course, I mean, Humayun is rightly on the list on the trade which can be explored, but yes, he has rightly mentioned the problematic area or the bone of contention, whereas is the GDP and the Kai-Check model, and there is a transactional issues and the major trade balance agreements, and must be aligned with their Chinese structure, financial structure. Now, the second is the military cooperation. Of course, without Pakistan, China cannot survive, and without China, Pakistan can survive because there is a territorial agreement, and you can see the from the Gilgit-Baltistan, from the all of the Kazakhstan till the till that border of Urumqi. So we need to understand that we are very much significant for China. If we are not there, China would also not be there. So you need to understand geographically, Pakistan is much needed. Then after that, then there is a military collaboration, the aviation, technology, satellite, and all of these things can work. Now, I wanted to more focus on the coal power project, which has been suspended for a lot many time. We have a 20 trillion ton of the coal and less than 1% of the sulfur, which cannot come under the green energy power. So we are not disturbing any of the green power. So what we need to do is including the 35 billion of the Chinese loan for the power generation one. So Pakistan, initially CPEC has two major main issues. One is infrastructure, second is power. Infrastructure and power. Rest assured, we are not at that part. We have to define a lot many things for the export base. So for now, it is one-way traffic to the
Of course, of
development of
course.
the CPEC.
So, Mr. Shehyar, when we talk about these relations, but how has cultural exchange between Pakistan and China impacted the bilateral relations, and what needs to be done to increase people-to-people contact?
So, Mariam, that's like very rightly pointed out by you that cultural exchange is like one area where there needs to be a lot more work that can be done. Right now, when it comes to cultural exchange, we are mainly focusing on student exchange between Pakistan and China. So a lot of Pakistani students are going to China to study for medical services, for
on
like
scholarships provided by the Chinese government.
Provided.
But there are certain institutions that are giving tuitions to learn Chinese language as well.
Exactly. So the Confucius centers were established across Pakistan to basically promote Chinese culture and Chinese language. Other than that, I personally see that tourism is like one area where there needs to be a lot more cooperation that could be done on both sides actually. So Pakistani tourists traveling to China and vice versa. So that's like one area that is lacking, and I think that a lot more exchange could be done. Other than that, one area where there is a lot of exchange being done is academia. So a lot of our professors are going to Chinese institutions, and a lot of Chinese professors are coming here to like deliver lectures as well. I think that relationship can be further strengthened as well. And obviously, if these routes between China and Pakistan can further expand, I personally think a lot more exchange, and that would like really build better relations between the people of China and Pakistan.
Right. So, Mr. Humayun, how can Pakistan and China cooperate further, specifically to promote regional stability and security?
No, absolutely. This is a very important area, particularly Shehyar earlier mentioning that climate change is one area in which Pakistan, with the help of China, G77 plus China, we were able to create this damages and control mechanism in the COP27, and now hopefully in COP28 we will work further on that. Other than that, on all major regional cooperation mechanism, SCO is one, Pakistan is part of a lot of other international mechanism. We have Afghanistan, Pakistan, China trilateral mechanism. We are part of Moscow mechanism. We are also part of Istanbul process when it comes to Afghanistan. We are also collaborating in disaster management. Now, in an area you were asking earlier, we are also very much collaborating with the Chinese on medical cooperation. COVID-19 was an area where China helped us in terms of giving us the vaccine, not only vaccine but transfer of technology, and Pakistan was able to make the first of its vaccine, and we were able to mitigate a lot of damages. That's one area. Then I guess information and infotainment is some area where we can collaborate with each other. Tourism, Shehyar mentioned, this is huge potential in Pakistan where we could bring the Chinese side. One question that you asked Dr. Hasnan in terms of an area of disagreement, I think there's none, but in my opinion the security issues of the Chinese people and mechanism working here, that's an area where Chinese have concern here, and Pakistan is very much addressing those concerns.
Of course.
But other than that, I don't see there is any disagreement on all major issues. Both the countries have a unanimous view on all the world issues or even the regional issues.
Of course. Thank you very much, Mr. Humayun Khan, for joining in today's program. Thank you very much, Mr. Shehyar Khan, for joining in today's program. Thank you very much, Dr. Hasnan Javed, for joining in today's program. In today's program, we discussed about Pakistan-China bilateral relations and the significant financial assistance provided by China to Pakistan. When we talk about Pakistan-China relations, the cooperation between the two countries is fundamental, not only for the two countries, but for the larger regional security and stability as well. That's all from Game Changer tonight.